Okay, guys, it's time to continue my Power Ranger reviews. Are you ready? Well, if you're not, too bad. Hey, everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2. This is the season where, in my opinion, the show started finding its way. And what can I say about this season? First off, you gotta talk about the Rangers themselves. We got the original Rangers from the first season all back after 60 episodes from Season 1. We get into another 50-something episodes in this season. I think it was 52 episodes this season. And I gotta say, man, this was an improvement over the last season. I think they saw the things that worked last season and they improved upon them in terms of storytelling and characters in this season. Jason still continues as that strong leader type character that leads the Rangers into battle. And although I think it's kind of unfair when his character is just sidelined for Tommy later on as the White Ranger, I think he is still a great character that you want to see, kick some ass. Zach is the cool one once again. We get to see his cousin Curtis in this season, and Zach is just the cool dude, man. He's still kicking ass. Trini is more or less the same. She doesn't get too much focus. She gets a little bit, sharing it with some of the other Rangers, such as Kimberly in the Flower episode, and she shares an episode with Tommy as well, but not too much. Unfortunately, those three Rangers, Jason, Zach, and Trini, move on and they're replaced by Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, who become the new Red, Black, and Yellow Rangers. At the time, I remember really enjoying Rocky, Adam, and Aisha more. Now when I look back at it, I actually see that Rocky is actually a character that's pretty much a Jason clone. He doesn't have his own character that you can identify with him. If you were not to know it, you would have thought that this was just a different actor playing the role of Jason. It's only until later on in Power Rangers Zeo where Rocky actually develops a personality. Adam is more of the quiet one, but he's cool. I like him. I like that he's a shy character because as someone who was shy in elementary school and high school myself, I could kind of relate to that and understand it. Aisha was kind of like the Kimberly clone, if you will. Definitely more talkative than Trini, who was more calm and relaxed. Aisha seems definitely in tune with Kimberly. Speaking of Kimberly and some of the other Rangers, I actually really think Kimberly shines a lot more in this one. She doesn't seem as ditzy as she was in Season 1. She actually seems more confident and sometimes even takes a leadership position. The episode The Wild West Rangers, towards the end of the season, really showcases that. Billy becomes more of a confident character, which I really enjoyed. I thought he turned out to be a huge improvement. You start to see his character really develop from Season 1 in that sense. Tommy is the one where the series definitely showcases the most in these early seasons. And it's no surprise that with the remaining Green Ranger powers that he has, he eventually loses it and becomes the all-White Ranger. That's right, the first ever White Ranger, which was taken from the Sentai series that Season 2 was taking its footage from for the monsters and the Zord battles. The White Ranger was actually the only suit from that Sentai series called Die Ranger. Of course, you can't talk about Season 2 without talking about the main villain, Lord Zedd. Lord Zedd was one of the coolest villains in this season, and man, he really gave Rita a run for his money, literally. Rita does eventually come back towards the end of the season, and I'll admit this, I actually liked Lord Zedd both ways. Both when he was alone without Rita, and then when Rita came back and got married to Lord Zedd towards the end of the season, I really liked that dynamic as well. So some people I know were kind of a little bit mad when Rita and Zedd got married because they felt that toned Lord Zedd down. And although, yes, it is true, Lord Zedd does get toned down a bit when Rita gets married to him, I think it adds a funny dimension to the character that wasn't seen earlier on and makes Lord Zedd a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. That it shows that, hey, this guy has a little bit more layers than we thought. He's not just your two-dimensional villain that wants to, twirl his mustache, let's take over the world. Okay, he still wants to take over the world, but it shows that he actually cares about his fellow monsters, and getting married to Rita was a big step on that. Now, to be fair, he was put under a spell. I understand that. But in season 3, that spell is wiped out, and it shows that Zedd does actually love Rita. The monsters themselves are still as memorable as they are in season 1, and some of the cool episodes, in my opinion, are where some of the old monsters from season 1 return and team up with some of the monsters in season 2. There are several episodes that bring back monsters and have a party and shit. Like there's that Zedd's Monster Mash, where it's a Halloween-focused episode, and they bring back several of Zedd and Rita's monsters. And I think that's what made the monsters from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers very memorable, was because of how much some of those monsters were brought back. The Zords were pretty cool. I don't think they were as cool looking as the Dinozords, maybe because dinosaurs were a lot more cooler looking. These ones were more mythological creatures. There was like a unicorn and a phoenix and a dragon, and one was a lion, I think they called it, but whatever, it was all cool. And then there was the white tiger, which white tigers actually exist, so I don't know how that fits into that theme. But anyways, the point is the Zords were pretty cool. Not as cool as season 1 Zords, but for season 2, taking it to the next level, they were fine, they were suitable, and they matched the Rangers. I should also talk about the music in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Starting in towards the end of season 1, they started adding music during the fight scenes, specifically the putty scenes. And that actually gave those scenes a little bit of some punch to it. And I really enjoyed a lot of that background music that they added. It really made the fighting scenes a lot more cooler. In terms of the story, I'm going to admit that season 2 starts off really good and strong, but then after Green Ranger loses his powers and Tommy becomes the White Ranger, the series starts falling a little bit, probably because of due to the struggle of finding new actors to replace Jason, Zach, and Trini with Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, because there are a couple of episodes where you do feel something went wrong behind the scenes here. Some of the actors are missing. You see it early on when their voices start changing once in a while, and you're asking yourself, how come their voices are changed when they're morphed now? And that's where you can kind of see something was going on behind the scenes. And then it gets even worse when they start reusing old footage from season 1 and early season 2, because Tommy, even though he's become the White Ranger, he's sometimes wearing green. And because they're using old archive footage to show that, hey, don't worry, kids, Jason, Zach, and Trini are still here. When you're a kid, you probably don't notice it as much, but as you get older, as an older fan, you start noticing the edits. And even though I think it's pretty well done, because I didn't notice it when I was a kid, it is very distracting when you're an adult and you know the series inside and out. I think it gets a little bit messy also when the move to Australia happens, because some of the episodes towards the end of the season were actually filmed in Australia, and you can tell that some of the American footage was also, they filmed a little bit here in America separately. Specifically the morphing footage and the villain footage was filmed still in LA, while the teen footage where the Rangers were unmorphed, that was all filmed in Australia. You can tell because the footage looks a little bit more raw in Australia, while here it looks like what the show looks like. There is something different about it. But for all it's worth, I think there are still a lot of memorable episodes throughout this season, things that fans should check out, like the Lord Zedd and Rita Repulsa wedding 3-part episode titled The Wedding. And then there's also the 3-part episode Return of the Green Ranger, where we have the Green and the White Ranger duking it out. That's right, Tommy is cloned, and the clone becomes the evil Green Ranger once again and fights the White Ranger. It's a really cool moment for Power Ranger fans. Obviously, you should also watch the beginning of the season, The Mutiny, Part 1 through 3. And this is the introduction of Lord Zedd and the Thunder Zords and all of that. It's really some great stuff. So with all that being said, guys, I think this is a fun season. Definitely a huge improvement over season 1, which I think lacked a lot in the beginning, especially the first 40 episodes or so. And this season keeps on track with the later half of season 1, which I think is where the improvement starts to build. So, with that being said, go check it out on Netflix or iTunes or wherever you can find it. I think it's a worth show to check out. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, man. Nostalgia. And the movie's coming out. Maybe you'll get the Easter eggs in the movie if you go and check it out. Unless you were never a Power Ranger fan to begin with. If you can't lower your expectations and have fun with the show, then it's not going to be for you. But if you're someone that just wants to shut off your brain for half an hour, go for it. It's fun. So with all that being said, guys, subscribe to my channel, especially if you're a huge Power Ranger fan. Like this video if you agree with me. Tell me your thoughts on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2. Did you enjoy it? Is it a season that's worth checking out? Would you recommend it to other fans? And if you haven't seen it, will you go check it out now? Let me know. And check out my podcast. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook. And until next time, guys, take care.